What's up, people? Going live. It's KG.codes here again. I'm doing another Ask Me Anything about tech, the tech industry, about coding, about life. Um, but if nobody asks me any questions, I'm just going to just talk about what I want to talk about. But feel free to ask questions about anything really, but particularly about those topics because I feel like I share the most about those on social media. And so I feel like I know a good bit about the tech industry, coding, and I know a little bit about life in 30 something years. So, yeah, feel free to ask any questions you want. If you don't, I'll just talk about, I don't know, I'll talk about something in tech to fill the time. I'm going to try to stay on here for at least like 30 minutes to an hour or so. So, yeah, just let me know if you have any questions about tech. Any questions about coding or life? Okay, I got a question on TikTok. Sent you a message looking for a React Native writer to make a simple app for me. Okay, this is on TikTok. So yeah, I check my messages. I don't think I checked my messages on TikTok in a while. So I'll check that. I can write React Native, but I'm not taking on too many new clients right now. Really not any at all at this exact moment, but I don't know, maybe in the future. We'll see. How does coding work, mate? What's up, Laughter1214? Appreciate the question. Coding basically, I mean that's a deep question, but basically coding is an abstraction layer over computer operation. So computers, are built with like processors and built with all these little components to make it work. On top of that, there is a operating system and there's a machine language on top of, in between the operating system and the actual computer machine parts, the chips, the actual hardware. And coding sits as a layer on abstraction on top of the machine language that people like me, developers, coders, can use to easily program how a computer should work with different inputs and outputs, basically. So basically, it's like a human readable language, for lack of a term, programming language that coders and coding professionals can use to program a computer instead of just using like zeros and ones or like these like crude machine language coding. And some people can code a machine language, but most of the programmers and coders you hear about aren't actually using that low level of a language. Appreciate the question. Somebody asked real rapper. Appreciate you asking the question. Do you use GPT daily? I was using it daily when it first came out, and then it started hitting those limits. So I stopped using it every day because it started hitting like this limit where like it wouldn't let you into it. So, but I was using it every day I was using the lookup code syntax. I would use it every now and then to write a description for me. Like if I wanted a very well written description of like how something technically worked, instead of Googling it or instead of trying to come up with it myself, like those fluffy words for like documentation, I would just use Chat GPT to tell me like give me a great description, like the best description of blank blank, and then I'll copy that and use it for something. I mean, it's kind of plagiarism, but in this case, plagiarism doesn't matter, for like certain things that I was doing. So. But yeah, and I would use it to give me code snippets, but I wouldn't use it 100% to just code all my stuff. The stuff I code is a little bit, the problems are too complicated as far as like they're too specific to my job and to the tech that we have at work that Chat GPT just doesn't have the proper context to basically do my job for me. Is Python easier to learn in JavaScript or JavaScript? That's a great question. User quick, something like that. Appreciate the question. I'd say JavaScript's easy to learn because JavaScript, you can open a browser right now and run JavaScript pretty quickly. So that's why I would say it's easier. Like because you don't have any like there's nothing you have to go set up. There's nothing you have to go do. People understand how websites work. To their general degree. So you can right now go open a browser, open the console, open the dev tools, and start running JavaScript on a web page to manipulate it, which that's why I just feel like it's easy to learn because it's more accessible for a first language. But Python's easy to learn too. It's a very simple language. Did you know? Dang, these questions be coming in crazy. Hold on, let me go back so I don't miss any questions. Dang, I missed a bunch of. How did I miss all these questions, man? Crazy. There's a lot of people in here. Is mechanically engineering worth it? It's worth it. I was a mechanical engineer when I first went to college. I decided to move to programming though. Like in my school in mechanical engineering or in engineering school in general, they had a programming for engineers class. I took that class and everybody hated, all the other engineers hated it, and I loved it. And I was like, man, I need to do this full time. So I switched to computer science. So that's my opinion. Is biased. Is mechanical engineering worth it? Yes, it's a great profession. You're going to make a lot of money. You're going to be happy with it. But me personally, I had to find out what I liked, and it was programming. I'm a .NET developer for 2 years. What should I learn next? If you've learned .NET and C#, you got a great foundation, object-oriented language, statically typed. Next, you should learn something that's dynamically typed and not object-oriented, like JavaScript or Python. That's what I would suggest. Is ChatGPT going to take our jobs? No, not in the immediate future. It's going to take a long time for ChatGPT. ChatGPT is never going to, or they shouldn't, it should never have the context of a company. So it should never know the deep complexity of a company's product and a company's code base. A company might be using a code base from 20 years ago. ChatGPT is not going to have access to that code base. And coding is not about always making the most best code change. Sometimes it's about making, I guess it's the best code change, but sometimes it's about making the best code change for the time and for the context that you're in. And ChatGPT just doesn't have the context all the time of a particular dev team or a particular company. So it's going to take a really long time for it to take our jobs. Will it start taking some jobs? Maybe. Will it start affecting our jobs? Yeah. And will we start using it more? I definitely believe so. Thoughts on ChatGPT 4? I haven't used it yet, but I heard it's supposed to be like 100. I heard it's supposed to be like 100 times better. So I'm going to try it out, man. Let me know what you think. If you've tried it already. What's better, ChatGPT or Perplexity? I haven't tried Perplexity, but I would say ChatGPT just because it's got the, I don't know, first mover advantage or it's just the biggest right now. So I just feel like, I don't know, it just it's better in that aspect. It's more well known. Now I don't know if the models are better, if the response times are better, or the responses in general are better. Recent grad in CS, but I don't have an internship experience projects to put on my resume. Dang, why does it keep doing that? Resume. I don't have the experience projects to put on my resume. So if you're a recent grad in CS, you already did a good thing by going and getting a degree. That's going to help your resume out a bunch. You're going to stand out a little bit with that for sure. What I would say is what you can do is you can start freelancing. You can start doing contract work where you could, it's not hard to find people that are looking for websites or apps to be built. You can make a contract, start building apps for them, and put those on your resume as like a contract engagement that I worked on this for 6 months as a contract. That helped me get my first job. Like I worked on a social media site for like a year or two for a client or whatever. And so I put it on my resume and I ended up showing it off in the interview, and that's how I got my first job. So that'd be one thing I would recommend is do freelancing to help you put stuff on your resume. That's a great way to get like some kind of like a trick to get some experience. Thanks for the question, Laughter. What's your favorite color? I don't have a favorite color. I don't pick favorites a lot. I don't really have a favorite anything. Do you have a life? Yeah, I have a pretty good life. Do you recommend coding boot camps for an 18-year-old? For sure, for sure. Like if you're getting out of high school maybe, or you're still in high school, boot camps are still good, man. Or not, boot camps are still good. Boot camps are increasingly becoming a more prevalent way to get into the tech industry and to get into coding, or some other sub part of tech. So yeah, jump into it. If that's the way you learn, jump into it. Now, if you think you need a more structured learning pattern, I would go to college and get like a CS degree, or get a computer science degree, or get some other technical degree. But if you're better at learning, on your own, and you're more self-driven, I would go to boot camp route. Less money, quicker boot camp. You can get a job pretty quickly. It's going to be tough at 18, man, for somebody. I don't know, man. I haven't seen a lot of 18-year-olds get into the, it's hard, man, because you're really young. But I feel like you can. Just keep pushing. But I'm sure they're probably going to have some ageism, man. I'm not even going to lie. Like, because you're going to be so young. But just present yourself professionally. And, I wouldn't share your age. And just go for it, man. Chat GPT gonna take our jobs. He asked that a bunch of times. Yeah, chat. Yeah, somebody answered it. Appreciate that. Who was that? I can't pronounce your name, but they said Chat GPT is gonna take decades to progress. Yeah, to that level where it's gonna take somebody's job. Yeah, it's gonna take a while. Let me jump over to Instagram. With gratitude, Jo, what's up? One of my old college friends. It can alter code for you as well based on need. Oh yeah, Chat GPT it's crazy. Like, and yeah, you can. So yeah, you can use, like, I've used Chat GPT before to like give me like code snippets or part of the code, and I'll get it and it won't have the context. And you can keep asking it a follow-up question, and it's gonna fix the code to how you like. But it comes to a point where it doesn't have like it's not going to be able to put in, like, I'm still going to have to put in my, connection to my other internal services in my system. Like, it's just so much more complex than that when you're working within an existing code base in an existing company. And then some code a company may not want you to do. A company may have coding standards that they don't want you to write the code in that certain way. Or there might be certain libraries that you need to use versus other external publicly used libraries. You may need to use an internal library. You may need to copy all the libraries to an internal repository to use them. So it's just a lot of things that Chat GPT just can't do in a normal development job. But if you're working on your own, or if you're working on something that's really more simple use cases, then Chat GPT is crazy, man. Like, it's incredible. Like, I definitely think Chat GPT is incredible, for sure. Dreadhead Dreams, what's up, man? What's up, dude? Thanks for joining on here. Love your account, man, and I always seen you around on Instagram, so appreciate all the support over the years, really. Let me go back on Instagram. Somebody said work-life balance. I guess you're asking about work-life balance with programming. It varies, man. And in tech in general, it varies. It just depends on the team you're on. It depends on your specific role. It depends on the company. It depends on the culture. I mean, I've been in situations where I've worked less than 40. I've been in situations where I work more than 40, a lot more than 40, like 50, 60. And I've been in situations where it's been, a good normal 40 hours a week. And since I've been in a situation where it kind of varies, with programming, I'd say typically it's a 9 to 5 plus. You know what I mean? You're typically going to do the 40 hours, and typically you're going to have days where you might go over 40 hours. But the thing about programming is you might have some days when you barely, it's super quiet, But if something goes wrong, you got to be there. And if you're on call 24/7. So those days, potentially you could be working the whole day, honestly. So, that's the one thing people don't share when they share like coding and technical roles, is that they have these on calls where you gotta be on call. If something or if you're not on call, if something breaks, you gotta be there until it's fixed, no matter how long it takes, most of the time. Somebody may trade shifts with you or whatever, but that's just one of the kind of, not a secret of tech, but like one thing that doesn't get pushed out on social media too much. Bayo Classy One, what's up? What's good, Techie? What's up, man? Appreciate you joining. Somebody said on Instagram, I'm struggling with adding Google reviews to my Next.js page. Any suggestions? DM me, and I'll take a look at the documentation for the Google reviews versus Next.js. I can look into it and probably give you some sort of solution, but I need more details than that. But I'm sure I could give you some sort of solution in maybe in like a few minutes, just taking a look at the documentation. I never added Google reviews before. I'm assuming it's a widget that you can integrate with your website. That's what I'm going to assume. PhotoLogic, what's up, man? What's going on? This dude right here, man, he's definitely a dude I look up to in the tech community in general. Does a lot of great philanthropic work. That's a big word right there. For the community and stuff like that. So I look up to this dude a lot on Instagram. PhotoLogic, man. What's up? Let me answer some questions back on TikTok. Don't tell me how to Whittington, what's up, man? Don't tell me how to live my life. That's his patented trademark. That's his trademark, man. Trademark comment. I love it. And y'all connect with each other on here too. Like if you see somebody or you see a connection you can make, or if you can help me answer these questions, please do. Please do. I like to just see that, because every time I get on these things, man, it's just so many incredible people that join that I admire, and people I don't know, people I do know. Yeah, some great people. They ain't just skip me all the way to the bottom, so I might have missed some questions. Let me see. Is computer information systems a bad degree? No, it's not a bad degree at all. It depends on what you're interested in. I wouldn't focus on just trying to find out if the degree is good or not. I will focus on what you're interested in as a part of tech. There's so many different things you can do in tech. You can do you can be a programmer, you can do quality assurance, you can be a product manager. You can do tech sales, which has been a big thing that's been popping up lately from some other accounts I've seen. Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff you can do. So you can do IT, you can do DevOps. It's just, you can do security. Yeah, so much stuff you can do. So I would just focus on what you're interested in. If in tech, all is gonna make good money. As you keep going up the ranks. Colonized brother, I'm a software engineer in Boston. What's up, man? What's your degree? I have a computer science degree, a bachelor's in computer science. Any ideas for a graduation capstone project? I need ideas. Man, dude, you're hitting with a hard question there. I don't know. Dang, a graduation capstone project. Any ideas or inspiration? I mean, what's been popping lately is all this AI stuff and Chat GPT integration. So maybe finding a way to integrate with Chat GPT. It's going to be hard to find a new idea because so many people done everything. But, man, I had a list. I might DM me a couple of drinks. DM me. I have a list. I'm actually going to make some content out of it. I have a list of ideas that I've had on my bucket list to do that I just started sharing with people because I'm never going to get to all this stuff. So, DM me and I'll send you the list. One thing I had was simple stuff. I was going to make a phone number lookup service that on your phone when somebody calls you with an unknown number. You can go online and look up the numbers, but I wanted something that would, as soon as somebody call you from an unknown number, the app would be running in the background. It would just tell you who it is if you didn't already have the number in your phone, and if the caller ID couldn't figure out who it was from your phone company or whatever. That'd be a cool app. That was one on my mind I was thinking about. There's a bunch of different things you could do though. But for a capstone project, you probably need something more complicated for sure. Try building a communication application using Twilio API is a good project. Yeah, man. Love that. Dang, I'm trying to think. I had a whole list of ideas. Let me see if I can find it. Without sharing my whole dang screen. Yeah, probably not. Just DM me. What black conferences do you know outside of Afrotech? Another good one is Render ATL. You have to come to Atlanta for it. I've never been to it. I plan to go to it next year or maybe the year after that. So I definitely suggest Render ATL. Let me see. Are you able to hack any games? I mean, I could hack computer games for sure. I mean, that's not too hard. You don't really have to be a programmer to do it. Just need to be a little bit technically inclined. You can hack computer games, like PC games, pretty easily. Console games are a lot harder to hack just because the way the console's locked down. And if they detect anything on your console, I mean, they'll pretty much dead your online account. You have to make another account, or they'll like block your console. Period. That really sucks. Let's see. Let me see. Oh yeah, tickets on sale for Render ATL. Appreciate that. Yeah, I need to get my tickets, man. I mean, it's in Atlanta, so I definitely need to be there this coming year. So I'm tripping, or I think it's this year, yeah, because last year was the end of last year. So yeah, later this year. Yeah, I gotta go, man. Yeah, Photo Logic with gratitude, both of y'all. Yeah, I gotta go to it, man. I'm tripping. Would love to know your opinion on coding boot camps. So I would find a reputable one. You know, I would ask around, do your research. DM me if you want me to help you try to look for some. I didn't do the boot camp route, but I know I've worked with people that have done the boot camp route. I know people that have done it outside of my job or whatever. It's definitely a way to get into tech. You don't have to have a degree anymore. Is it still difficult? Yes, it's still difficult to get through the boot camp. It's still difficult to get a job. It's the same as if you got a degree or not. But I think it's a great option to skip the pitfalls of school, all the money you have to pay, spending the 4 to 5 years in school, you know, learning, having to take all these, what do they call them? Is it electives? I can't even remember. I've been out of college, so I don't even remember what they're called. But all those like general education classes that you have to take that don't have nothing to do with your degree. But, you know, boot camps will teach you more specifically about the job. They will teach you more job related skills, and a degree is going to teach you more foundational skills and more like if you're doing computer science, it's going to teach you more about like computer concepts and computer science concepts. The boot camp will really not focus on that. They're going to more focus on the practical, like how do you use this coding language? Like how do you check in code? You know, how do you work within a team on your job? Like it's going to be more practical, which I do. I love that actually. I would have not gone to school if I had knew I would have self-taught. Yeah, I would have did a boot camp and self-taught if I'm starting right now. But you know, it's 2020 hindsight and all that stuff, you know, of course I would say that now, but because I do a lot of self-learning. I've been self-learning ever since I've been out of school. I learned more out of school than I learned in school for sure, but school set a great foundation. It looks good on a resume. I made friends in school. I had a great college experience, you know, so yeah, it's advantages to both. I'm not going to down one or the other, really. Somebody said there's no jobs. Don't do cybersecurity. Go for general IT and move into network security. I'm more on the programming side, so I'm not sure, you know, how the job search relates in that aspect. You know, but yeah, you just need to get your foot in the door in the tech, man. And then it's like, you can basically do almost anything you want from there. Let me see. Programming or cybersecurity, and what's the best, cheapest route to get into the field? Man, I would probably say, I'm biased, man. I'm a programmer, so I'm gonna say programming, just because you just have so many once you learn the code, you just have so many options, man. Because part of coding is security. You know, like you have to keep security in mind. So you're always gonna, like being a coder, you're always gonna have your hand in a little bit of all aspects of tech. But in cybersecurity, you don't necessarily need to know how to code. You just need to touch on it. And so I feel like if you know how to code, you just kind of always have that skill in your back pocket, even if you move to something else. Like I know a lot of coders that moved into full-time management. I know a lot of coders that moved into cybersecurity. I know a lot of coders that moved into product management. I know a lot of coders that moved to sales. I know a lot of coders that move into developer relations. I know a lot of coders that just moved out of coding to other spots of tech, but it's harder for somebody else in another spot of tech to go and try to learn how to code so that they're not kind of like, their options get lower. Just feel like you have more options when you know how to code to move around later in tech. If you don't like something, that's just my opinion. I feel like I missed a bunch of questions, but it was moving too fast for me to follow. I'm just gonna stay at the bottom because people probably gone now. Do you know how I'm a .NET? Do you know I can't read that. I want to move into security. Oh, so you want to move into security from being a .NET developer? So what are some good steps? I would say if you want to move into security, it's a more cert driven area, I feel like. So I don't know what the certs are, but there's definitely probably some certs that you can get, or I know for sure there's some certs you can get to kind of help you move a little bit forward in that. I would change my LinkedIn to just be like, don't even say you're aspiring in cybersecurity. Just say that you are a cybersecurity expert. Whatever the role is that you're about to apply for, just say that's what you are. Because like when you put aspiring, then people just start looking over your account and stuff. And put that on your resume too. Like that's what my title is. Like they're gonna look at your experience, they're gonna see the coding, but it's gonna help if you just kind of focus on, like this is what I'm trying to do. I mean, if that's what you're interested in, if you're more interested in security, Colonized Brother said, why not move into SRE, like site reliability engineer? You should consider that if you're not just full blown trying to do cybersecurity. But I mean, I know a couple people, I know people in real life, of course, like I work with that are in cybersecurity or in security, and really they just kind of like they're on the security team and they do different things. Some of them are programmers that are just in the security team. Some of them are DevOps that are in the security team. That's why it's like, even if you move in the security area, you're gonna have to develop some sort of technical skill. So it's always good to just like either learn DevOps. You can be network security. You can be closer to the code security around that area. You can do pen testing. You can do, it's just so many like sub genres of everything that you can get into. Did Silicon Valley affect you guys since it's tech related? It didn't affect my company, and I didn't have anything personally tied to it. And my company didn't seem to have anything tied to it. They just did an earnings thing today, so they didn't have it. I don't think they did, but so I wasn't affected by it. Let's see. Name one cert that would be beneficial. I don't know. I mean, it depends on what part of your journey you're in. That I just sent this to one of my friends the other day. It's an IT cert. It's called dang it, man. Now I'm forgetting the name of it. I don't have my phone in my hand because I'm recording with it. Just DM me if you want to know the name of the cert. I got like a list of certs. I just asked one of my IT friends to send me a list of the best certs, but I forget the name of them because I'm not planning to learn any cert. Like I got experience and just really not beneficial to me personally. So those are things I have to kind of ask my resources to give me. See if I missed anything. What language do you prefer to code? Right now, I prefer JavaScript. That's what I kind of like. As a T-shaped dev, I'm kind of more dug down in the JavaScript right now. C# is probably my second favorite language, or my second preferable language. And then PHP. I know people hate that. Java, it's cool, but I just don't like how verbose it is. It's just too much typing you have to do. But yeah, those are my favorite languages. Node.js, yeah, I use Node.js a lot. JavaScript. I don't know if you're responding to somebody else or if you were asking me. What do you like about PHP? It's a good question. I think because PHP is a scripting language, PHP runs a lot of the web still. It runs like most of the web still with WordPress. Facebook was built on PHP. A lot of Facebook still using PHP. But I like it because it's a scripting language. You can build a dynamic server, what's the term? Server rendered website really fast with PHP. And you can create web scripts really fast, web APIs really fast without setting up a bunch of infrastructure. You just install PHP and you just write your scripts and you can do almost any work on the web. You can store the database. You can process some requests. You can build a dynamic web page that loads a blog or loads some dynamic content, build a web app out of it. And it's really fast and really performant because it's server rendered. So unlike React and Vue and some of these JavaScript frameworks that put most of the rendering logic and work on the front end on the browser, PHP is server side rendered. So it's putting a lot of the logic in the rendering on the back end. And so it's really powerful language. I mean, it gets a lot of hate, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not popular. I mean, it is popular. Let me stop. Like it's still used a lot. It's just not popular in the development community as like the new hottest thing. Yeah, that CompTIA Network Plus. Appreciate Colonized Brother for mentioning. I think that was the one I was actually that I was thinking of. CompTIA. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. I don't know if it was I think it was like A1, CompTIA 8.1 or A1 or something like that. It was something like that. I can't remember. Reason why top companies haven't approved boot camps. I don't think they haven't approved boot camps. I think they're fine with it. I think top companies want experience though. Like it's hard to come into a top company fresh out of college unless you really strong at interviewing, man. Like CompTIA A+ is the certification. But you got to be really strong at interviewing, and you got to be really strong at interviewing anyway to get in one of those top companies. And it's hard to get your resume through if you don't have, a strong experience. And I think the problem isn't not the boot camp, is because you don't have the experience or something else to support the boot camp. Just like if you just have a degree, it's still hard to get an interview with just a degree. I mean, it's a little easier, but, I think with the boot camp, you got to pad it a little more than you do with a degree. And so I think if you pad it a little bit more, you'll get a lot of more resumes through the recruiting lens or recruiting filter and start to get into interviews. But you have to pad it with your own projects or pad it with some freelancing projects. Like you really got to fill out the resume, try to figure out if you can, find some free work to do somewhere or maybe even charge for it. But just make sure it's official, as fishable as possible. Yeah, like freelancing, GitHub, do your own projects, pad your resume, for sure. In my front end or back end, I'm full stack. So the stacks I like, I use JavaScript on the front end, Next.js. I use React with Next.js. I use Vue with Nuxt.js. I can do pure JavaScript, CSS, and HTML websites and web apps. I use React Native for mobile apps. I use Xamarin for mobile apps. I can do native mobile apps. On the back end, I use Node.js with JavaScript. I can do C# and .NET backends. I can do PHP backends. So I just been around a long time, so I've jumped around. I can do Java backends, Java and Spring framework backends. I don't know Ruby and I don't know Rails. I did a little bit of Ruby in college in one of the classes, and that was about it. But yeah, .NET, I love .NET. How can I get freelance projects? Just look around. Post content. I mean, that may not be for you, but man, posting content, man, I have like a unlimited supply of freelance projects. I have to turn down 90% of the projects I get from posting social media content because I just don't have time with a full-time job and trying to do freelance on the side. I only have time for like 1 or 2 or 3 projects on the side at most. So I would post content. I would ask your family and friends if they ever wanted to. If you ask everybody guaranteed somebody will have some website they always wanted to do, or they will have something at their jobs, or they will know somebody else that wants to do something or has something at their jobs that needs to get done technically, whether it's building a website, building an app, or building some service, or building some sort of automation. Just ask. You really just got to ask around. You got to get out of your comfort zone. Either post on social media or just ask all your friends and family. And you might have to do some work for free. If freelance, it might need to be free to start like that. Just to get your portfolio up and get your name out there. How do you study for JavaScript to be proficient? And was it while you were already working? Yeah, I never stopped studying JavaScript. Never stopped studying because I always had to keep interviewing over the course of the years. So things keep changing. New technologies come out. I always keep studying. I like to read documentation. I'm more of a reader than a video watcher. So like for coding algorithms, I use this this service called Algo Monster. I use Algo Expert too, but I like Algo Monster better. I use LeetCode to help me with coding algorithms, but generally getting better at JavaScript. I just read a lot of articles and read a lot of documentation and kind of like it for certain topics to kind of like strengthen my skill in certain areas. Reading about the JavaScript API and the new ECMAScript versions that are coming out, and reading how to use the different the JavaScript API, basically the ECMAScript API and the new functions and stuff that they're putting out. And just studying different things about the language, like different design patterns. Like practicing system design. Oh yeah, practicing system design is definitely a thing that you need to do for the big tech companies. They always have a system design interview as part of their process. And practicing, I mean, you can practice system design. That definitely will help you out a lot. Studying it there's a lot of resources to study system design. There's a lot of case studies on different big tech out there where they've done like system design case studies basically that show you kind of how these were designed. Studying those, reading this, I think it's like Data Intensive Systems. It's a book. Reading that book can help you get better at system design. Algo Expert has a version of it called Systems Expert that has a bunch of system design stuff in it. Algo Monster, the thing I recommend, has a system design section in it. So you really just have to study and learn how like these data intensive applications can scale properly. It's really about scaling and just knowing kind of the key components to finding like a strong backend for whatever your system looks like. Why does Rails get so much hate? It doesn't get as much hate as PHP, but yeah, it do get some hate. I'm not even gonna lie. What about manual testing? Yeah, QAs. That's a great thing in tech to go into as well. Being a QA, quality assurance. So you would like manually test the software that the team is building. So you would like the coders build it, you test it. I would recommend learning automation as part of being a QA. So then you're multifaceted. So you can do manual testing and you can do automated testing. I think a lot of companies, a lot of teams are moving toward like fully automated QA, and they're starting to try to phase out manual QA so they can move faster. It's unfortunate, but yeah, it's kind of like what I'm seeing a lot of teams do. So they're not hiring manual QAs anymore. They're hiring automation QAs. And so you would use like tools like Selenium to automate a browser where you would do everything you would do manually, but it's like a computer that's clicking all the buttons. And, you know, if it's a UI, if it's a mobile app, there's tools to automate that. And so, yeah, I would definitely pad your skill set with automation as well if you're going to be a QA, just to future-proof yourself. But you got to get started somewhere. So I think boot camps are a waste. You can find everything on YouTube. So I get what you're saying, but some people they don't learn that way. They're not self-driven. And it's like you're drinking from a fire hose when you look at YouTube for some time. When you're new to tech, you don't understand it's so much information and routes to go. It's hard to understand how to focus down. That's what a lot of these questions are. Like, should I do this or should I do that? What should I learn first? What should I do? Like, am I learning too deep here? Should I move on to the next thing now? Should I stay on this? Should I go deeper? It's about like breadth versus depth. And it's hard to know how deep to go on something, but how much like range you need to have before you try to go for your first job. What a boot camp would do, give you a structured learning environment. They will have a focused curriculum, and you'll have people that will motivate you, and a teacher, and you spent money on it. It will motivate you to like get your money's worth. When you're just watching YouTube videos, it can be too much information. You can have analysis paralysis, and let's face it, man. We humans, man. We struggle with like dedication to stuff. Like sometimes we need teachers in school to do it. Like I know it sounds counterintuitive, but sometimes we do. Now there's a lot of stuff you can learn on YouTube, and some people can self-teach completely. Like some people can, but I'm just saying that I don't think boot camps are a waste, because I think some people only learn through structured learning. So that's just my opinion though. But thanks for that comment though, because I get what you're saying. Our boot camps catching up with universities as far as recognition at tech companies. It definitely is. It definitely is. Like there's still some gatekeepers that are trying to like kind of keep boot campers out because they got a degree. They feel like, okay, I can't let you in the same gate that I came through without having a degree. There are people like that, but they're starting to phase out and they're starting to change their tune. And more companies are accepting devs with boot camps, like a lot of companies. And I mean, I work with people that didn't have degrees. I work with people that didn't even have computer science degrees, that were programmers, or they had like law degrees and they moved to tech later on. I work with plenty of people like that, but they had experience. They made a pivot to get into tech some way. And so it's either you do freelancing or you self-learn or you take a boot camp or you go back to school. One thing I'm going to throw this tip in there. One thing people miss, I think, when they try to move into tech is looking at your own company and figuring out if you can make a move that way. Because that's a really good trick that I've seen people do that I don't see get talked about a lot. Is that, let's say you work for, you work for Air Delta or something like that, or you work for a bank, like Bank of America, or you work for Home Depot, and you work in one of the corporate departments, but it's not the tech department. Like building your technical skills, reaching out to that team, letting your manager know what you're trying to do, and pivoting to more technical role in the company that you're in first will be an easier route to get some experience, like shadowing the devs on the team. Like we had a situation where we had a dev or had somebody in another team from the support team join our organization as a programmer. Once they kind of showed in the support role, they started doing like a 25-75 thing, and they started doing a 50-50 thing, and eventually it got to the point where we're like, you know enough to start doing tasks for us. You know what I mean? Like you already doing half the work, so you might as well come over to our team full time. And so that's a pivot that's easier to make than trying to interview and trying to get your resume passed through, trying to like show your ambition and trying to like move into a more technical role in your own company. Like you might have to start low. You might have to start at like, the support desk or something like that, the technical support desk, where you're like, helping people with the website, with like the website not loading or something like that. And then you build that skill up, and then you might be ready to pivot into, while you're, at home, you're studying, you're doing your own thing. And then eventually, you might have a discussion with one of the managers and say, hey, I've been studying this, I've been studying that. Can I spend 20% of my time on your team taking, shadowing somebody or doing minuscule tasks or whatever? And if they like you, like eventually, if they like you and they feel like you can help the team, they will hire you. Like for real, like if it will be no question. So that's a little trick, man. I've seen people do at my company. What does the career path for a full stack developer look like? Man, it can be a little bit weird, because some companies have a full stack developer role. Some companies don't. They just have a plain developer role. And then some companies have specific front end and back end roles and don't have a full stack role. So sometimes you're gonna pivot. You're gonna get to the point where if you go to a larger company, it's gonna be harder to stay full stack as far as your day-to-day work, because your team is probably going to be like focused on front end or back end or certain areas or not. At a smaller company, it's a lot easier. When I started out at a smaller company, because only had like 5-6 devs, I had to do everything. I had to make the database tables. It was beautiful though. I had to make the database tables, store procedures. I had to make the API layer. I had to make the front end. I had to make the styling, the CSS. I mean, I had to do everything from front end to back end, and it was great, and I learned a lot. And I had to know some DevOps too. I didn't have to know like all the DevOps, but I had to know enough to deploy and monitor my service and make sure that the way I coded my app would run properly in production and optimally in production. And that's kind of where your algorithms and stuff start to come in. Like how does the logic in your app scale with the data that's being input into it as the data increases? I'm a PM at Microsoft. My team is full stack. Oh, that's dope. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what, I would like to hear, who's this? Nomad Nerd Alert. I love to hear like, well, you probably can't share all that, but like what stack, like what is the full stack? Because a lot of teams I've seen, it's like a lot of job descriptions I looked at the bigger companies are like, it's like really specific to like front end roles, back end roles. And then I've seen some full stack roles too. But I always seen it just leans one way or the other. Like a lot of full stack roles I interviewed for, even though they said it's full stack, it leans way toward the front end or the back end. That's the only thing I'm mentioning. It's hard to just have an even split. Like it's always gonna be some lean front or back, I feel like. Dude, I'm at Microsoft in Boston too. Dang, Microsoft guys, man. I know who to hit up if I want a job at Microsoft. Not that y'all gonna just let me in, but I'll try. Boot camp streamline the process of learning for me and help me get a job. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of boot camp success stories out there, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm about to graduate from boot camp. Do they expect you to code right away or do you get trained? I don't know, man. I mean, I've only had a couple different jobs, so my experience, a lot of jobs won't have a crazy training for you, like, or some jobs won't. Some jobs will expect, they will let you in, they will do like some bootleg, onboarding, and then they'll expect you to get kind of started on at least some small tech. Like your training will be through fire. Like they will give you some small tasks to start with, and then get you kicked, and then get you like kind of pushed into the team because they just don't have time and they probably haven't properly prepared a onboarding. Now I've seen some of the bigger companies have like a whole onboarding process, and even some of the smaller companies do. I mean, some companies in general have onboarding processes where they might send you off to a whole different group to do your onboarding, and then you come onto the team and even do like another onboarding for just that team, and then you start working on stuff where like you may not work on a task till like 3 or 4 months down the line. I've heard of that. I have never experienced that, but I've heard of it. But I definitely know where people have got thrown right into the fire, and there's no documentation. You just need to ask questions, and they expect you to be right onto it. So I wouldn't have no expectation. I would ask in the interview process, what is the expectation? That's a great question to ask your interviewer. Do they expect you to jump right in, or do they expect you to? Because it can be different it can be different between teams. It can be different between companies. It can be different between different size companies. It just depends. What's the most on-demand skill set as far as longevity? Dang, I'm learning web dev on Code Academy right now. That's a great question. What's the most on-demand skill as far as longevity? So if you're gonna be, man, that's a great question. If you don't want to be, so if you get into programming or you get into IT or whatever you get into tech, if you plan to be in it for a long time, that means you want to rise up the ranks, right? So does knowing a certain skill, like as far as technical skill, isn't going to be what makes you rise up the rank. The people at the top or higher, as you go higher up, you do less technical, actual hands-on work. You start being more of a leader. So either you go down the management track and you start managing other people, or you go down the technical leader track where you're doing more of a high level architecture you're running a team from a technical aspect. You're a technical leader. You're a technical leader in the industry. You're a technical leader at the company. You're helping do solutions. You're doing solutioning, doing solution design. You're solving huge problems. And the bigger the company, the bigger the problems. Like if you're at Google, you're solving problems if you're Microsoft, you're solving problems for like the world. If you're at a big company, you're solving problems for a lot of big customers. And so you become like a technical solutionist at that stage, or you become a director or a leader where you need to manage technical products, technical teams, and keep it running like an oil machine. So I would say, to answer that question, the best skill to have for longevity is you need to, I guess it depends on what track you go down. I mean, you need to have like communication skills, no matter which way you go. If you want it, you need to have leadership skills. You need to be continuously learning. But I would say the one thing that defines it all is like you need to be T-shaped. And what T-shaped mean is you need to have a breadth of or a range of knowledge across multiple different areas in tech as you go up in the ranks. But then you need to be able to dig down when you need to and be like T-shaped. So if you need to learn something technical to answer a question, you need to be able to do that. But you need to have kind of a range of knowledge across different areas so that you can make decisions. Because the higher you go, when you're like entry level dev, you might have 300 decisions you need to make a day. But when you're like a director, there may be like 3 big decisions you need to make a day. Like I think, not Elon, but one, I don't know if it was Steve Jobs, Elon, or what's the Amazon dude, Bezos. He was saying like he wakes up and he just makes like 2 decisions a day. You know what I mean? Like when you get to that level, decisions just get huge. So you just need to be a good decision maker. But in order to make those decisions, you need to be like T-shaped. You need to have a wide range of knowledge. And so that comes with experience. What's your favorite tech stack? I don't like to pick favorites, but I say the one I use most right now, JavaScript, either React or React Native on the front end. On the back end, Node.js, so still JavaScript, MongoDB, and then Google Cloud Platform to host everything on, spin up, VMs, horizontal scaling, vertical scaling sometimes, run out my databases and run out my web apps on. Have you tried Kotlin? I have not tried Kotlin. When I did Android dev, I was using Java at the time. It's been a while since I did like native Android dev, and that's probably where the closest I would have been to touching Kotlin. But no, I never ended up doing it. I'm getting rejected from CS. I'm getting rejected for CS from colleges as I put in safeties. Should I be worried? I'm getting rejected as I put in safeties. Applications? That is a little weird that you're getting rejected, man. I mean, maybe the colleges, I don't know. I mean, maybe I need more detail. Maybe it's are you coming from high school or something and like the GPA or something, that test scores aren't good enough? Because that's weird if you're getting rejected from like a lot of colleges. Like, I feel like these colleges need to be taking anybody at this point. Like, not to be, not to say you're not good, but I'm just saying, like, these colleges they better be taking anybody, because people are going to stop going to college eventually, I feel like, for tech. What's your TC? I mean, I'll say it's over 6 figures, well over 6 figures. I won't share exactly what it is, but I'd say it's been over 6 figures for a very long time, is what I would say. So you can kind of take that as you want to take it. I can share about the comp structure though. Like you have if your company's public that you work for, and it may be a reason why you choose a public company versus a private company. And a public company means it's on the stock market. A lot of these tech companies that are public will pay you they'll pay you a base salary like a normal salary job would. Then they'll pay you a bonus similar to most normal jobs will pay you a bonus every year. And then a lot of these tech companies that are public will pay you out in stock or restricted stock units as well as part of your compensation. Sometimes when you ask TC, I know what you're talking about, but some people don't know when you ask total compensation, it usually means all those things added together. So it may not just be. So when you hear these people talking on tech like they making 6 figures or 200, 300, 400, it's like a lot of times they may be making like 100,000 in stock, especially at these big companies. They may give you a stock package for like 400,000 over 4 years or something like that, or they may give you 50,000. But it's in stock, so that don't mean they just seeing that money. It's not cash. So if they don't sell it when they get it, because it has a vesting cliff, so they might get a signing bonus, but if they don't get a signing bonus, they have to wait a year for that first vesting cliff to get that first bit of money. And so if they don't wait a year, they don't get the money. And even if they wait a year, when it vests, it may not be worth the same as when it was given to them, because they're gonna give you a number of, most companies, some companies change the way they're doing it now, but they're gonna give you a number of how much they're gonna give you at the point you sign for the job, and then they're gonna convert that at the current stock price or some average of the current stock price over a certain period of time, and then they're gonna give you that money value in stock units, and they're going to say in a year we'll vest these stock units. But if in a year the price changes, it goes up, then you'll get the stock units you get will be worth more. If the price goes down, then the stock unit you gotten will be worth less. So it's one thing to think about with that, that some people may not know about. I know it's a mouthful. What thoughts on the state of the market? Would you look for a new job right now? Stay put? Man, that's a good question. I would stay put right now. If you happy where you at, just stay put. Now is not a time to be ambitious, to be trying to go find another job just for the sake of trying to get more money, because you might be surprised that it's not an employee's market anymore. And so they're not throwing out some companies are. I'm not going to just make a blind statement. But don't be surprised. This is what I say. Don't be surprised if you try to go look for a job and they ain't just your negotiating ain't going as well. They ain't just throwing crazy money at you. They ain't just lifting all these restrictions for you and making all these compromises. Because right now, a lot of companies aren't hiring. The market's flooded with all these devs from these big tech companies that laid off, and some of these medium, even small companies that laid off. The job openings are definitely down. I know that for a fact. The openings are not as prevalent as they were a year ago, and especially not 2 years ago. So it's not as, companies aren't just fighting over devs like they were. So they were just throwing all this money out. And so, but if you're not happy, it's go look for another job. Like it's fine. Like, it's not as good as it was, but there's no guarantee that waiting is going to help you either. But if you're happy where you are, I would stay, because you don't want to go somewhere else, be more unhappy, and now you got to try to jump somewhere else again in this weird market. I just wouldn't do it. That's just my opinion. But bachelor's in computer science, now working on a master's in computer science. So colonized, bro, that's interesting to hear you say that. Why are you going for the master's in computer science? And I'm not asking in a way of questioning it. I'm genuinely interested in what your ambitions are for the master's in computer science. Because I'm interested in, if it would make sense if there's any value to me going back and getting one after 10 years in the industry. I'm 6 out of 10 on the happiness scale. Hey man, you might have to take that 6 out of 10 because it's better than being 2 out of 10. There's been times when I've been 2 out of 10 on the happiness scale, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. And there's been other times when I've been 6, 7, 8. It's crazy you say that because one of my old bosses used to ask us that, man. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was weird, but I found out that I was like, that was a good question to ask. He would ask us where will we on our happiness scale? And I was like, what has got to do with anything? But ever since the pandemic started, you don't have a good bead on when a lot of these companies went remote, including ours. You don't have a good beat on how happy people are, man. You don't see them every day. You don't get to go to lunch together. You don't really, it's just the work. It's just a job. It ain't as fun as it used to be. And it just is what it is. We have a lot of other advantage because you work from home, so you can have fun at your house, and you can do other stuff. You don't have to commute. So there's great things about working remote. I wouldn't want to trade it back, but it definitely, the job itself isn't as fun, quote unquote, as it used to be when we were in the office. I'm not even gonna lie. When we were in the office, it was you got along with you got to chill with your coworkers. It was work, but we go to lunch, we have coffee breaks, we have hot wing challenges, we have events, we'd have happy hours, we hook up the Xbox and the Wii, not Wii. Well, I guess it was a Wii back in the day, but Switch, and we play Smash Brother tournaments. You know what I mean? It was just fun stuff like that we do even during the work day. That I don't do any of that stuff anymore with my coworkers. It's just I log on, we work together, and we log off, and we try to talk every now and then, but ain't nobody trying to jump on no Zoom call to spend time with friends. I'm just trying to jump on a Zoom call to get the meeting done and get out of there. So yeah, if you're still in the office, man, I know it sucks, but there's some bright sides about it, man. If you got a good culture and a good office, of course. I miss a lot of things about the office, I'm not gonna lie. But would I go back to full in office? I doubt it. Unless it was really close and there was some really good people. I really don't see myself going back in the office full time. I want to be hands-on with code and be a builder. Oh, I think you're responding to my talk about going to management route and going up the ladder. So you can, I think what you want to do is probably be a staff engineer or a principal architect. You can go up and still do some coding, but it's just the higher you go, man, the more they're going to try to push you away from coding, man. It just, in every company I've seen that. And maybe some of the Microsoft guys on here, guys from other companies, can share their experiences because I don't want to just talk from a silo. But I've been told by everybody in the industry, and when I've interviewed for roles that were principal or staff, it's you're not going to be coding as much as you were when you were just getting tasked as an entry level dev. But there are always exceptions, and there are always a lot of exceptions. So you can find roles, staff roles, and even senior staff roles and distinguished engineer roles where you can still code. And the good thing about it with those roles is a lot more autonomy or whatever. So you're gonna have more control over what you're doing in a lot of companies. You're gonna have one direct report. You're not gonna be within the team most of the time, and if you are within the team, you're just gonna have kind of a different position within the team. So you're gonna be able to create your work a little bit more easier that I've seen. But it's different at different companies. It's different in different places, and so you kind of can't just rely on that. But I'm just giving my experience. And anything I say here, if I'm speaking from a point where it sounds like I'm just speaking absolute truth, please don't take it as that. These are my experiences. I'm glad that people in the comments are giving their own experiences because my experience is just one viewpoint. Now, do I think that I'm right about a bunch of stuff because of my experience? I probably am. Do I think that I'm wrong by a good amount of stuff? Yeah, I probably am too. You know what I mean? But I think my experience is valuable. I think it will help a lot of people, just like everybody else's experiences in the comments will. So I just put it like that. Why isn't AI farther along? I don't know, man. That's a good question. You probably should be farther along than it is now. Cause I mean, you remember like what old movies show how the future should have been, and like I don't know. But I will say that I mean, if you look at the last 20 years, like I grew up I was born in the 80s, but I grew up in the 90s. It has come really far in those years. Now, could it have moved faster? Yeah. But if you think about the grand scheme of things, there's been, we're in 2023. So let's look at these 2,000 years. In the last 30 years of 2,000 years, we have had and I mean, just look at the last 300 years because 2,000 is like going back to like too far. 300 years. In the last 30 years of the 300 years, we have gotten cell phones, we have gotten the internet, we have gotten computers, like more advanced computers. Like it's sped along a lot faster in the last 30 years than it did the previous 30 years before that. Like we've gotten things that literally changed our life. In the last 10 years, 20 years, we got social media, we got it was something else I was gonna say. I already said cell phones, which is that's like a game changer. Smartphones, I mean. That literally changed our lives in the last 10 years versus the last 300 years. So, I don't know. I feel like tech moved along a lot faster in the last 20, 30 years than it has well before that. So, is it moving too slow? Probably. Yeah, it's exponentially advanced, I feel like. I mean, even the last year, we got this crazy chat GPT thing. You know what I mean? This thing it's already went to chat GPT 4 and I think the 3 just came out like what, early this year? So, or late last year, I can't remember. So, I mean, it's supposed to be like 100 times faster. I think it's advancing pretty fast. I mean, last 10 years, we got like electric cars, self-driving cars. I mean, cars been around for what? Y'all probably better historians than me. Cars themselves have been around since, I don't know, 100 years ago or 80 years. I don't know. But they haven't started self-driving or been electric until the last 10 years. So, I mean, a lot has just happened in the last 10 years exponentially. Will AI replace software engineers? Not for a long time. I answered that earlier, so I ain't gonna stay on that one too long. If they're laying off a lot of SWEs, will the pay decrease? I definitely think it will. I think now, will the pay still be high compared to other professions? Yeah, it'll still be, because tech, it just pays a lot just because of the high valuations of these companies, and they end up just having a lot of money to play with, and that's why tech pays so much. And it's just a lot of money in the tech industry. So I think it'll be higher paid. But in 2020, 2021, 2022, the early part of 2022, before they started laying off, man, the salaries was out of hand, man. It was crazy, man. People was like pitting offers against each other to get these higher salaries, like especially at these big tech companies. It got crazy. So I think it's not like that anymore, but it's still, they're still paying really good right now. It's just a little bit harder to find jobs at this particular moment because of the economy, all the layoffs. Like, it's definitely dented it. Now, should you just throw your hands up and give up? Like, no. Like, there's still jobs out here for sure. Like, I still get hit up about jobs, just not as much as I was before, for sure. What are the best certs to have? Somebody said that CompTIA or CompTIA or whatever it's called, A+ is a good cert to have for general IT knowledge to get into tech. I wouldn't say for programming, I wouldn't get any cert. I would go to school to learn how to program, either self-teach, go to college, or go to a boot camp to program. I wouldn't get any certs for programming, for learning how to program. Now, maybe you get certs down the line. But if you want to get into IT or DevOps, I would get this IT cert from CompTIA or CompTIA. I don't know what it's called, but I'm not really on the IT side, so I would look that up and kind of do your own. Tech industry would die soon with all these new GPT AIs coming up. I don't think so. I get what you're saying, but they still Let's say Chat GPT got so good that it just took everybody's jobs. Well, somebody still got to work on Chat GPT itself. Like they're still going to be improving it constantly. Cause I mean, as good as it is, it could still be a lot better. Like, and then I think when it gets to the point that companies plug it into their infrastructure and it starts to learn about their code bases and how their business runs, then it'll level up. But I don't think companies are ready to do that yet. But it might be soon. Like, and there's just so much about tech that it's like a lot of human part of tech. It like, believe it or not, it's a lot of human stuff. There's politics, there's human based decisions, even with coding. Like humans make decisions about what technologies to use, to what they want to use, what they like to use. And it's just, the Chat GPT ain't there yet to like have that kind of context and make those kind of decisions. And like within the context of a company and its code base and its technical infrastructure, like it would have to know about all that stuff and then form its own opinions. Now, will it get there one day? Maybe, but I don't know. Yeah, it's getting better. Yeah, like you said, Hypeful is getting better every year. So we'll see. We'll see for sure. I mean, I think it's just going to be a tool that aids people in tech to a high degree. Will it take some jobs? I can see that. But will it take all the jobs in tech? I think ChatGPT is actually a signal that tech is the place to be, actually. Because even if ChatGPT is doing a lot of the work, it's going to be creating jobs around it. Like, still, I feel like just like a they're like simplified to the simplest level, like an elevator operator. Like we don't have elevator operators anymore, but that job died out. But other jobs can't. Now you have more jobs for elevator repairman or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it just changes the job. Just like you don't have people pumping your gas anymore, but you have different jobs that are made from people that are building the actual self-service pumps at the gas station. So it's just, it just changes the jobs, but it doesn't always just completely like remove them. But yeah, like you said, it's getting better and better. So it's definitely going to take some jobs or some parts of, I think it's going to take parts of people's jobs for sure. Sooner than later. Do you work with product designers? Yeah, I work with product managers, product designers, project managers, project, owners, all kind of like product. Oh, sorry, you said product designers. Yeah, product designers for sure. So like a dev team or R&D team. Typically, what I've seen in the industry consists of like developers, a developer manager, a product manager, a project manager, typically a designer or two, some quality assurance people, either manual or automated. Typically that's what you need in an R&D team. You need kind of like a group like that to develop upon either a piece of the product or the whole product if it's a small product. That's what I've seen in most companies. What's the best way to remember functions? You mean like remember functions in a programming language? The best way to remember them is use them and get burned by them. That's the best way to remember. Just try to use them and apply them to projects, apply them to coding algorithms, see how they work, mess up on them. Like when you mess up on something, it's like the greatest teacher because it just sticks it in your mind so much more powerful than any other way. Finishing my freshman year of my second bachelor's in CS. Any recommendations to get internship? Man, I didn't do the internship thing, but recommendations to get internships. I would say be active on social media like you are right now. Ask around. Somebody may see this comment, DM people. Get on Twitter, get on LinkedIn and Twitter. Even more than Instagram or TikTok, definitely be on LinkedIn and Twitter heavy and start to I just spit crazy right then, but start to network on there And by networking, that means join Twitter spaces, reply to people's tweets. That don't mean just DMing people all the time. Reply to people's tweets, build a relationship, look up internships on Twitter, on the internet. Just be constantly looking up internships and applying. It's a numbers game. Like, don't be discouraged if you only apply for 4 internships and you get turned down for all 4. Like, you need to be constantly, like, weekly scouring for like internships at these bigger companies. Bigger the company, the better the internship will be, I think, because of it's a game, man. The notoriety on the resume that it'll have, it will help you. So those are suggestions I have, man. People underestimate building a personal brand on social media, how much that can impact your career. Like, I've gotten job offers, I've gotten interviews from social media without filling the application. I mean, I've gotten like freelance projects from it. I mean, even at my own job, I've gotten recognition for it. Like, it's people think I'm just on here just like, I don't know, trying to blow up or something, which kinda, but like, it's more about trying to help people the way people help me, more about building my personal brand, to use that for a number of different reasons. But it's not all about like, it's not, all about trying to make money and trying to like have a bunch of followers or nothing like that. It's just literally being here has introduced me to so many more people in tech that I would have ever had exposure to. I just would have never knew all these people. I would have never got these opportunities through DMs and through comments that I've gotten. So people underestimate that. And I know people are shy and stuff like that, but I just had to get over that junk, I had to get over all that like shyness and stuff. And like, hey, people going to talk about you whether you on here or not. You know what I'm saying? So just do what you want to do. Thoughts on tech sales. Yeah, I've seen some, like, I didn't really know too much about tech sales, but like being on social media again, I started to see like a lot of people are in tech sales and they're like saying it's crazy money in it. Do they enjoy it? I don't know, because I don't really know what they do in tech sales. So maybe you can tell me. I don't know what exactly you're doing. Me personally, I like to code, design systems, and I like to see people using the systems. That's what I get satisfaction. I like to build something from nothing and see it working and seeing it being used. So my satisfaction in the tech industry is building stuff. So tech sales seems like you're not building stuff. So for me, it probably wouldn't be something I would like to get into. But some people don't like coding. Like, they don't like technical stuff like that, but they want to be in tech. So that's like a great way for somebody that's like into selling stuff and more personable to get into tech and use the skills that, that they have, which is sales, salesmanship or marketing or whatever it is. So I think it's great. And I mean, I heard there's a lot of money in it, and I heard it's a great option for people. So not down, and it ain't for me, but I think it's for a lot of people out there and maybe for you. So go for it, man. If you think that's something you would like. I just want to work in coding. Hey, me too, man. That's all I want to do is just keep coding forever. And that'd be good with me. I want to work on my own stuff. I want to continue to grow in my career, all that stuff. I think it's Dan Raybread. Appreciate you, bro. Yeah, appreciate you, man, for the comment and just joining in for a minute. I really appreciate that. I'm a community college student. How can I set myself up for success? I mean, it depends. I don't know what you're majoring in or what your interest is in, but I mean, if you're in college, finish it, man. If you're already in it, just finish it. Like, unless you're just struggling and you know another path and you got another way out to do something, I would just finish it, man. Get your degree, whatever it's in. I mean, I would recommend that for sure. I guess one way if you're in school, focus on school. I don't want to tell you to like go try to learn this on the side and go do this on the side, because then it's just going to affect your schoolwork. When I was in school, I focused on school. So if you got another major that you want to do, if you want to go to another school, do that. But just right now, you're a student, have fun in school, keep focused on your work and get out of school. That's what I would say to set yourself up for success. I wouldn't be trying to because if you try to do all this other stuff and then you start failing your classes in school, it's just not gonna. Just do the best you can in school and get out in the right number of years. Don't drop classes. Like, don't waste the money on school and not pass the classes, because you got to pay them for those classes if you fail them. That's what I recommend, man. just stay focused on that, or change it if you don't like it, you know. I'm probably about to jump off in probably like, I don't know, a little while, because I've been on here a while. You know, last time I was on here so long I lost my voice. It was crazy. Fastest way to learn coding, how to think like a coder so I can avoid tutorial hell. Man, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'd say the fastest way to learn coding is probably a boot camp, because it's so hard. Like, it's so many resources out there. People say, oh, you can learn on YouTube, you can learn here, you can learn there. But it's overload. Like, you don't know what to learn. You don't know how long to stay on a certain thing. You don't know when to move on. You don't know what to choose. You don't know what's good, what's not, what's going to help me, where I'm wasting time at. So, like, taking a boot camp will it'll be a 4-week boot camp or an 8-week boot camp or a 12-week. So you'll have it, like, it'll be time boxed. And learning to code in like 12 weeks is really fast. Like, learning to be a proficient coder. So, I mean, I would say, yeah, a fast way to learn to code is definitely a boot camp. Self-learning can be faster, but you got to know what you're doing. You got to be learning the right things. You got to, it's not about the language you choose, but it's about knowing how far to go and when to move on, how deep to go on a certain thing before you need to move on. It's hard to know that without experience. So it's good to have some guidance, man. I think the fastest way is you need to have some guidance, either from a boot camp, from school, or from a mentor, or from, some or online resource. Let me recommend this for you guys, before I get off, because there's a lot of questions about how to get into this thing. If you're getting in this thing and you want to get in a boot camp, or you want to self-teach, and so you're not going to school, but you want to know what your interests are, or you want to know kind of what direction to go, I recommend this thing called roadmap.sh, this website here. It'll give you these roadmaps based on roles, and you can kind of decide what role you want. And then you click on that, and it'll give you this roadmap of, like, starting. Dang, what happened to this thing? What world? Something in front of my camera. Oh, my bad. No, I don't know what happened. All right. Yeah, but I would start with this thing, and then you can it'll teach you everything, like the basics of, like, if you choose front end here, for example, the basics of, like, how the internet works and how DNS works, what is the domain name, how do browsers work, and then it'll start teaching you about programming languages like JavaScript and cascading style sheet, CSS, and languages like HTML, like markup languages. And yeah, teach you SEO. I mean, this teaches you the basics and gives you a structure if you're going to self-teach, because that's the problem a lot of people have when they try to self-teach. So that's what I recommend for people. Somebody said, if you have the money for a boot camp. Yeah, I'm sorry not to mention that. Yeah, like, you got to have the money for a boot camp. I mean, if you go to college, you got to have the money too, or you got to borrow it. Borrowing it ain't free, because I'm paying student loans right now. It ain't free. And you still got to have money for books. You got to have money for room and board if you can't get that covered, with a scholarship or borrowing it. So, it costs money to do it. But it costs time to learn self-teach, and it costs stress. It's hard to self-teach, man. Self-teach ain't easy, because ain't nobody going to get you up. Like, I see so many people. You know how we are as humans, man. It's hard to get us to do stuff, to motivate us to do work. You know what I'm saying? For when we don't know the end reward. Some people can do it better than others. Some people are super self-motivated, but a lot of people, man, they fall off. Like, they may make it a month, and then they fall off. They might make it 3 days. They run into a hard patch. They fall off. Family member gets sick. Kids make them busy. They have a kid. Like, stuff gets in the way. So when you have that structure that's making you do it, the extra kick in the pants that you spent this money on this boot camp, or you're in school and you got a professor that's going to fail you, it just gives you that kick in the pants sometimes you need to, like, push through when you can't. So yeah, somebody, Josh Bleach, what's up, man? He said, that's why I'm doing a master's. But yeah, I mean, shoot, if you're doing a boot camp, maybe you can borrow the money for a boot camp. Invest in yourself, man. And just make sure I hate to say when people say they don't have the money, but then we be having the money for like everything else. We had the money for clothes, shoes, Jordans, Yeezys, computer, you know what I'm saying? And not a regular computer, like a really nice computer. We have money for vacation. We'll spend $1,000 to go on vacation and spend it for a week. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, but we don't have $1,000 for the boot camp. So, it's hard for people to invest in themselves and not when they don't have an instant return. It's hard for people to invest in themselves when you got to do work. Like, you got to you paying these people, but then you got to do all the work still. You know what I mean? You still got to, they helping you, of course. You paying them for something, but you still got to do a lot of work. What's your current tech role? I'm a senior software developer. I'm technically the team lead for a tech company, for like a medium-sized tech company. So yeah, I do coding. I'm moving more into like a principal role. I'm trying to, at least. So I'm doing a little bit less coding and more like architecting type stuff. I want to transfer to a top CS school. Any tips? I mean, I need to know your situation, where you came from, like kind of if you're coming out of high school, or no, you say you need to transfer, like what your current scores are, like just to get past the applying stage. You got to have not scores, but I guess your GPA and your extracurriculars. I'm assuming it's similar to applying when you come out of high school, transferring as well. So, I would suggest just making sure you're doing good in your school you're at now, so you have the best chance of getting past the application stage, really. And then I would suggest you go to a school that you think you will perform at, and that means the environment, whether it's a party school, or that means that the level of, toughness. Like, that means a number of factors to just make sure you're successful at the school is what I would say. But, you're already in school, so you know how school works. So, I think you may know some of those factors off the top of your head. Thoughts on cross-platform development, ESC, or thanks for that question, man. Thoughts on cross-platform development? I love it. People hate on it, man, but because it used to be bad back in the Cordova days. I don't know if you heard of Cordova and Phone Gap, where they used to use web views to do cross-platform mobile app development. But these days, you got tools like React Native, or frameworks like React Native, and you got frameworks like Xamarin. You got Flutter. Like, these cross-platform frameworks for mobile app development they will render to the native, to a native app, a completely native app. They have very good performance. They perform very well. They look good is one thing that the old cross-platform frameworks didn't do well. So, I use them all the time. I use React Native for a number of years now. I've used Xamarin a lot currently now, and a lot in the past. Will I say that it's on par with native app development? No, it never will be. Whether you're talking about cross-platform for web apps or cross-platform for mobile apps, it'll never be as good as native development. But you have to spend a lot more time on native development. You have to have a lot more skills. You have to know how to develop for Android. You have to know how to develop for iOS. You got to know just so much stuff. And so, it's just a trade-off of your resources and skills and time. How familiar are you with OOP style programming? Very, very familiar. I did a lot of C# and .NET in my career early on. So, and I did a lot of Java. And so, I know a lot of object-oriented programming concepts. Like, I learned a lot about dependency injection and what are interfaces and how to use them. It's just a lot polymorphism. I don't even know how you pronounce that. encapsulation, a lot of the pillars of object-oriented programming that I had to learn over the years. So yeah, cross-platform for building a V1 of a product for it's great for that. Like, why would you spend all this money, time, and resources to build a native app on both platforms for a V1 for a startup if you could just you can get a single developer, or whether you're the developer or you're hiring a developer that knows JavaScript that can build it in React Native, or knows Dart and can build it in Flutter, or knows, I think that's the language for Flutter. I haven't used Flutter before. Or knows C# and can build it in Xamarin. Like, if the app doesn't need, the only time an app absolutely needs to be developed natively if there is some performance impact that the cross-platform frameworks can't handle, or there's some like deep platform specific thing you're trying to do that the platform doesn't allow you to do. But for like, I'd say 75% of apps, that is not the case. 75%, when you go on the App Store, 75% of these apps are so simple. Most of their work is done on the back end, like not in the app. A lot of their Facebook is like, it's a UI, but the reason why they're using a lot of Facebook developed React and React Native, so, like, they obviously don't need it, you know what I'm saying, to be native. Now, is their app partly native? Yeah. But they're replacing it with a lot of React Native. At least the last time I went to the Facebook conference, that's what they were saying. So, abstraction. Thank you, man, because I was about to. I haven't interviewed in a while, so I didn't even know the list of the object-oriented pillars or whatever. Abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance, and encapsulation. I got 3 of them. I forgot about abstraction. Appreciate that, man. What about a mobile app that utilizes artificial intelligence? That's crazy you say that. I tried to build one of those like maybe 5 years ago. I called it Butler Bot. This is before AI was like crazy like it is now. And it really wasn't AI. It was more like an automation tool. But I tried to integrate like a very old school, and this is like 5 years ago, old school like AI third-party integration into, I can't remember what it was, to let it do like some AI-driven stuff based on some like machine learning models and some, I don't know what kind of data models it had that was driving the AI, but it didn't work out. But today, I mean, shoot, folks need to get on it, man, because like people are gonna be building some crazy stuff with ChatGPT and some of these other AI integrations that are becoming available. Like, I mean, mobile apps, web apps, whatever it is, I say build it, man. Like, build it even for the process of just learning it, even if you don't put it out or even if it isn't successful. If you have the time and skill and you have the risk tolerance, then yeah, I'd say build it. Yeah, so this thing say you going live for 90 minutes. Don't forget to take a break. So I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna get off actually. I appreciate y'all jumping in. I don't want to lose my voice again. Yeah, I'm gonna answer one more question and I'm gonna get off. But I appreciate everybody that jumped on all the platforms. I'm going to answer this question because it's so good I can't not answer. How would you set up the server side of a mobile app to decrease latency and the chance of outage? Man, that's like a system design question. Like, I had to think about that, man. To decrease the chance of an outage, how would you set up the server side of a mobile app? So what technologies I would choose, like code-wise and infrastructure-wise, I'm not going to answer that, but I'm going to answer more how would I set up the system to be tolerant to outages. I think to reduce the chance of an outage, first and foremost, you need to have redundancy set up on all your different layers of the back end. So that means the Cloud, I would use cloud. I would use the cloud. I wouldn't store it on like a private cloud or like some server rack somewhere in some basement or city or some data center somewhere. Which it ends up being that, but I would use the cloud because that would help you manage scaling up and scaling down your system as the usage grows and as the usage drops. So that will help you with outages, because let's say you have an influx of users for a new release or some event you have going on with your app, then the system potentially, different parts of the system can automatically scale up if you're in the cloud using AWS, GCP, Google Cloud Platform, or Microsoft Azure. So I would say that for one, use cloud infrastructure. So like that's horizontally scaling servers and databases. And the other thing I would say is to, with that, have redundancy. So have backups of your database that can spin up in a chance something goes wrong with your kind of like your master database. Have backup environments that you can switch to for your web app, for your web API layer that the app will talk to. Just have like fault tolerance built into your infrastructure where you can quickly switch to like a I can't remember what they call it, but like basically like a side chained like backup system completely if something goes out. And then you need to have automation to detect, hey, health checks or whatever that automation is. Hey, this service is down, or this cluster of servers is down. Switch to our backup cluster. You know what I mean? And then to decrease latency, you need load balancing. You need to horizontally scale properly. You need to have caching at all points. So you need to have your database cache, maybe use Memcache or Redis, so that like when you're reading stuff from the database, you're not always going to the database, which is an expensive read. You be pulling from the cache, which is like an in-memory cache, which is a very fast operation. So that's at your database layer. You may have caching at, depending on how your app's built and how it needs data, you could have caching at your web service layer, so that when the app calls for information, maybe it pulls the data from the in-memory cache instead of going to the database, which is a long, expensive operation. And so it's up to you to, based on how your business logic and your app works, of how you cache that data and how quickly the user needs to see it. And you may set up streaming in your application, event streaming, so that you can properly cache things, and that the data flow of your application is a little better. And you may decide to go with a micro. It's so many things you do. I can't answer this in like one question, but you can go with a microservice architecture so that like if certain things go down, the whole app doesn't go down. Just certain features may go down. So there's a lot of stuff you can do, man. I mean, it's an infinite answer, like, for sure. Oh yeah, and yeah, you can, if you want to talk, if you, at one point that I can't pronounce your name, but like you made a good point about like you need span CDNs. I don't know what a span CDN is, but I mean, for your web content, you can use a CDN. But see, he was asking specifically about the back end of a mobile app. So, and just the back end. So, I don't really see where you would use a CDN for that unless there was some static content that you needed to serve. But I mean, yeah, I guess for your images and stuff like that, you definitely want to use a CDN. Static content. If you have part of it that's web layer, web app, part of your app or something that you're showing a web view. I'm learning WordPress. WordPress, man, still runs most of the internet. It's like over 50%. So WordPress, people hate on it, but it's a great skill to learn. I've had some clients that I just built WordPress websites for and made a good bit of side money. That's it for me, man. I appreciate y'all jumping on. It's 11:50 here. I plan on only stay on here for like an hour. I've been on here almost 2 hours. But I love the questions. Appreciate people jumping on, answering questions for other people. Oh yeah, thanks ESC side 090. Appreciate you jumping on, man. Great questions. I could tell you know what you're talking about from the question. So appreciate you. Appreciate everybody else that's jumped on here. Like, if I didn't get to your question, I'm sorry. DM me. I'm on Instagram Live. I'm on TikTok Live. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitch. I'm on Facebook. I'm on everywhere you want to be, or almost. And so follow, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. I will have another live out soon. I post content every couple days. I share, content with folks. But feel free to DM me. Feel free to add each other. It's a community on here. So yeah, appreciate y'all, man. And I'll see y'all in the next live or next video or next content, whatever it is. Appreciate everybody. Y'all have a good night.